Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Lily. I am so happy you're here with me. In today's video, I am going to work with napkins, beautiful decorative napkins, and I am going to create a master board or a collage board using only beautiful napkins. I was inspired to create this from Happy Mail that I received a couple years ago, where one of my subby friends sent me a beautiful package and it included some tissue collage boards that she had made with decoupage, and I love them. And just recently, I used them for the very first time and I die cut some Rolodex cards. I'll have that video for you up above. Those Rolodex cards turned out so stinking cute. Well, I want to give it a try too. And so I went through my napkin stash and pulled out an assortment of napkins, different styles, napkins that I have purchased, napkins that I have collected from parties, believe it or not. If I go to a restaurant or a friend's house and they have beautiful napkins, I take one. I'd rather use a plain tissue or a plain napkin than sacrifice a beautiful napkin when I'm dining. I know, am I the only one? I know I'm not the only one. But let me show you some of the napkins that I have from my stash. I have this beautiful one. Isn't this gorgeous? These oranges. And let me show you one of the Rolodex cards that I've already cut out. Look at how beautiful that is. So we are going to use tissue napkins and then some scrapbooking paper or some colored cardstock, plain colored cardstock, any color. And when you use, I use pink here, when you use a colored cardstock as your background, it adds so much more interest to the tissue itself. So isn't that beautiful? And then I also have this birthday cake napkin. I love this one so much. This one came in a package that I purchased, and I was actually going to use these napkins for my 56th birthday, but I forgot to bring them out. So I thought I would use this one in the collage today. And I know it's pretty random because I'm using different sorts of napkins, and this one was kind of like the black sheep of the pile. I mean, I love it, and I wasn't sure how it was going to work or coordinate with the other napkins, but look at that. Isn't it so cute? Look at how well it looks on this Rolodex cards. So that's what we're doing. We are going to be die cutting some Rolodex cards out of the tissue collage masterboard that I'm going to create today. There are 4 different napkins on this card. I've got the orange one at the bottom, and then this beautiful bird, and then tulip, and then the birthday cake at the top. All together, it just works. And I've created collage boards in the past, and I've usually used scraps of paper, usually scraps of scrapbooking paper and design paper, but this will be the very first time that I use tissue napkins to create this work. And then let me show you another one. Oh, here's one that I really, really like. Look at this beautiful napkin. This one came from IKEA. I know, I was surprised. I bought this one last year. I was at IKEA and I bought some curtains, and as I was perusing everything else, I came across this beautiful napkin, and so I picked up a package. Let's see if I have one here that shows what this looks like. I do. Look at that. So here there are 3 different napkins here. I've got this one, and then there's a tulip napkin, and then also this one down here, another floral. Here's what's cool about this technique is even though the napkins are all different kinds of styles, different florals, even the oranges, and then the birthday cake, and then the bird, random and different types of designs. And then we are going to collage on them. Once it's all said and done, and then once I cut them up, you know, with the memorydex, it's a memorydex or Rolodex die. They all just work. They all turn out so beautiful. I know it's hard to tell here. But you'll see all of these cards in just a moment. We're first going to work on the tissue decoupage or tissue collage, and then we are going to die cut a whole bunch of Rolodex memorydex cards. Oh my gosh, I love these so much. This is all I've done with them. So I've only die cut them. I've only gone this far. I love these so much. I will keep them in my stash, and in the future I may embellish even some more, or I will use these as my business cards, as you know I do, by adding my information in the back. And this is what I include in my Etsy orders and also in my Happy Mail. Okay, are you guys ready to have some fun? Gather yourself, okay? I'm going to tell you the supplies that you are going to need. Gather yourself some beautiful napkins, and don't worry about them coordinating. You just grab all of your beautiful tissue napkins, and then grab yourself some cardstock. If you don't have colored cardstock, use what you have. White cardstock, printed cardstock, it doesn't matter. Just grab yourself some cardstock, and then you're going to need some type of adhesive to do the collage or to glue it down or decoupage. I'm going to show you 3 different adhesives that I'm going to use. I'm going to use Mod Podge, which is a decoupage medium, and then I'm going to use a plain glue stick, because you can also do it with a glue stick, and then I'm also going to use a third adhesive, an experimental adhesive, and I'll talk about more of that in just a moment. So gather those. Those are the most crucial ingredients, supplies. Okay, are you ready to get started? Let's go over to the Crafty Loft and let's work with our beautiful tissue napkins. Let's go. I'd like to show you a few of the other napkins that I will be using in today's collage. A lot of these napkins I pick up at different stores. So whenever I'm out and about, whether it be a grocery store or a party supply store, maybe like a Home Goods, TJ Maxx, Marshalls type of store, I will always go over to the napkin section just to see what they have, especially the napkins that are on clearance. For example, the birthday cake napkins, those cost me, I think they were 99 cents. So super, super cute. And I know these at IKEA, those were super inexpensive as well. And I also find a lot of napkins in secondhand stores, so I pick them up there as well. Some of these napkins I also include in my junk journal kits. I thought it would be important for me to show you how to use them. I always try to include a couple, at least one of them. But if you've received a kit and I didn't include one in there, I apologize. But this way you could, have an idea of how to use these. I'm showing you that I actually poured some of the Mod Podge into this older glue bottle. And then this is the experimental one that I am going to be playing with today. It is diamond painting glue, and it's actually meant to be used as a sealer for the diamond painting. I do not diamond paint, but I did want to try this out because it was only 32 cents on clearance at Hobby Lobby. So I thought, is there something I could do with it? And so I actually sealed this collage work with that diamond paint because it is glue. It's a glue and a sealer. And I used a combination of the glue stick and also that diamond glue. When I was walking around Hobby Lobby, and they were having like a 90% off their spring stuff, and that diamond glue was in the spring section, and it was like $3.29, so I ended up paying 32 cents for it. And before I paid for it, though, I did go online to search how it's actually used. And when I saw that it was like a sealer, very similar to Mod Podge, I thought, I'm going to give it a try. For 32 cents, I was willing to take a chance. And in fact, I bought a few bottles. For 32 cents, yes, bring it. And it actually worked just like Mod Podge. And it left a very matte finish, where I will use the Mod Podge up ahead, and that leaves a more satiny finish. The reason I want to use 3 different adhesives today is just to give you an idea or give you examples of different adhesives that you can use to do this type of collage work. Glue stick will work just fine. White glue, Mod Podge. And if you do diamond painting, let's use that sealer for, I love finding things and that have multi-purpose. And so that is what we are going to do. Okay, step number 1, we are going to separate the layers of these beautiful napkins. They are usually 3-ply napkins. That means that the design is 1-ply and then they're backed up by 2 additional layers. And I am going to take those apart. One of the back layers is usually the easiest one to just easily pull apart. But that middle layer, you're going to have to need some tape. I'm using clear tape, but you can also use washi tape to gently separate the layers. And you've separated all of the layers completely when the design shows through very clearly through the napkin. This is a delicate process right here because you don't want to tear into the design. At times you may, and that's okay because sometimes we'll cut up the napkin and use just parts of it. But try to be gentle when you separate it. And I don't know why I cut the pieces before I separated. The easiest thing to do is to separate the back all at once. But I'm going backwards here. And towards the end of me separating all of these napkins, I actually do that to the very last one. And then you can also cut out your design like I just did with this one. Be careful when you cut the designs because they may be off-centered when they're folded in half. You want to make sure that you are not tearing into the design that's on the opposite end. And so I kind of eyeballed and made sure that I wasn't cutting into the design when I trimmed around that floral pattern. If you tear the backing all at once before cutting down your napkin, you're going to use less tape. But because I cut the napkins down into 4 pieces, I'm using more tape. I mean, it's an insignificant amount, but it'll save you a lot of work if you just do the entire napkin at once instead of piecing it the way I have done it here. I really like this heart floral one. This is one of my favorites. If you are going, here's another little tip. If you are going to trim around the design, it is better if you trim around it when all the layers are intact, because that way the napkin is somewhat sturdier and it's just easier to cut around the design. Either way works just as good. I've had some of these napkins for a really long time. Some of them I want to say could be about 10 years old. So, and I keep buying them and I keep collecting them, and I'm not using them as much. I have used them on smaller projects. I've used them over card fronts. I've also used them over, what have I used them on? The guest checks, I've done that. But as a master board, like a large collage piece, this is the very first time. I'd like to thank Ileana Villarreal for inspiring me to do this. She sent me a happy mail a couple years ago, and she included these master boards that she had decoupaged. And I have been hoarding those for over 2 years. They were just beautiful, and I wasn't sure how I was going to use them. And a part of me didn't want to, break it down and just kind of take pieces away from it. So the other day, and I have that video, it'll be linked either up above or in the description area. It is a video where I use Ileana's decoupage paper to cut out rolodex cards or memorydex cards. By the way, the memorydex die that I am going to be using later on in this video, I have that linked in the description area below, and it's one of my favorite dies. and it has a beautiful, like a scallop design at the top. Just really, really pretty. Well, in that other video, and you'll find that in the description area, I actually take Liliana's decoupaged paper and I die cut a whole bunch of rolodex / memorydex cards, and they are so pretty. I'm actually going to be using some of her cards and some of the ones that I cut today as pockets in the upcoming Little Golden Book junk journal. So I'm currently working on 6 Bambi themed Little Golden Book junk journals, and I'm almost done. I should have been done a couple weeks ago, but I got really, really busy, and I have established a new morning routine, and I'm actually training for a half marathon right now. And so that is taking a big chunk of my morning. And so things are just taking me a little bit longer to complete, but I am working on them. In fact, I will have a video coming up soon where I am going to show you the binding process. I think that'll be fun. And I just finished a video, I'll link it for you in the description area below, where what is it titled? Oh my gosh, I can't I can't remember. I've got so much going on in my head. It's signatures. My interpretation of the perfect signatures for my Bambi Little Golden Book. So I will have that video for you in the description area if you would like to go and take a look at that. So a lot of these memorydex cards will be tucked into the pages, and I'm going to use them as tuck spots, but I'm also going to create some to use as my business cards. So there you go. So that is why I like to make these Rolodex cards. But this is the first time I'll actually be making my own tissue collage paper, this masterboard, and it turned out so beautiful. I showed you moments ago a couple that I worked on off camera because I had to give it a try before attempting to record a video for you. I wanted to make sure that I figured out and ironed out all of the things here before I dove in and showed you. So I worked on 2 collage masterboards off camera, and those are actually as I was recording this part of the video, I had those drying. I had worked on them a couple hours before. The Mod Podge will take a little bit longer to dry, and so I worked on those a couple of hours earlier. Typically, when I work with a lot of adhesive, I like to leave things to dry overnight, but I really wanted to get this done the day that I was working on it. So while I'm working on this, the other 2 masterboards are drying. I want them to be completely dry by the time I begin to die cut. And this may be a tedious process. This entire process took me about an hour and 15 minutes, so it really wasn't that long. Plus, I had so much fun going through my napkins and looking at all of these pretty designs. And at one point, I even doubted that they would all look good together. But I went back and referred to Liliana's work, and she had all kinds of different napkins on her work. So that is what inspired me to just use whatever napkins, whatever designs that I have. They didn't have to coordinate, because in the very end, they're going to be perfect. I love this orange one. This is one that I've had for a few years. And I've been hoarding this one. I love the bright oranges, the citrus fruit on there. This napkin is so pretty. I actually buy, believe it or not, when I buy napkins, I do buy some to use when I have, cookouts or, little gatherings with my family. But then I end up just using plain white napkins. I can't get myself to use these pretty ones. My middle daughter, Devin, she loves to entertain, and she also loves using pretty napkins. So when I come across beautiful napkins that are more her style, I'll always gift her a pack. I include them in like their little goodie bags, like for Mother's Day or for their birthdays. I'll try to include some beautiful napkins in her package. I know it's such a random gift, but you know, she loves to entertain, and so a whole package of beautiful napkins, who's going to say no to that? I would have liked to have grabbed 2 of these from IKEA. I only grabbed 1, and I think it's because I knew I had so many more napkins here at home. But if I do go back to IKEA anytime soon, I will. I'm hoping that they'll still have these napkins or maybe even other designs, and I'll pick up another package. This birthday one is so pretty. I had no intention of using these napkins for the collage. These are the napkins that I was actually going to use for my 56th birthday, and I honestly just forgot to grab them. So here we are. I'm going to make art with them. I'm going to start with the Mod Podge, and I recommend, if you do this, use a silicone spatula. It is easier to spread the glue, but also super easy when it comes for cleanup. And I'm just going to apply a very thin layer and try to smooth it out as best as I can. And I will begin to glue the napkins down. Be very careful when you smooth the napkin over the glue because you don't want to tear it. And I am being super careful with my spatula. I am being very light-handed and going over it very carefully because I don't want to tear it. Oh, I'm enjoying my first cup of coffee of the day. I ran for 45 minutes today. So I am training for a half marathon, which will take place October 25th. And I am following a training program because I can't do this on my own. I wouldn't know where to begin. And I am following a training program that is available to me on the Peloton app. So I have a Peloton treadmill, and I have a subscription to Peloton for training, and it's called Road to Half Marathon. So today I started. Today is actually day 2 of week 3, and it's a 10-week training program, and the 10th week will end the week of the half marathon. I'm taking this seriously. Last year, I talked about doing a half marathon, but I didn't train for it, so I ended up doing a 5K for that same. It's called the Haunted Run, and it's so much fun. We do it as a family, and everyone does different races, the 5K, the 10K, the half, the full marathon. So is there a full marathon that day? I think there is. So we all participate in different races, but I didn't train for the half last year, but I was able to do the 5K. But this year, I decided I wanted to try to do the half marathon with the help and the encouragement of my youngest son-in-law. So that's pretty cool. And I didn't know where to start. And I went looking. He had made a couple of recommendations for different apps that offer training. But because I was already paying for the Peloton app, I went and searched for a half marathon training program, and I found it, which is the Road to Half Marathon. And this training program is for all levels, for beginners, even advanced runners. I still consider myself a beginner, even though I've now been running for 3 years. Maybe intermediate. But training, today's run was hard. It's a 45-minute progression run. So this one trains so that you can get a little bit faster. And I'm a pretty slow runner. I'm not out there for speed. My goal is to just finish the half marathon. I just want to finish. That is my goal. And I don't know how long really it's going to take me based on, if I focus on time, I've run a 10K, which was a little over 6 miles, and that took me an hour and 19 minutes. And so if I double that, that's about 12 miles. That'll be 2 hours and 40 minutes. So my goal is to just finish and get across that finish line. And hopefully I can do it under 3 hours. We'll see. But today's run was so hard because it pushed us. It's called a progression run. And you start off slow and then you build speed from that. Oh my gosh. I had 15 minutes left and I just wanted to stop. But instead of stopping, all I did is slow down a little bit. And I don't run the entire thing. I wish I could. So I run a lot. And when I feel like I'm getting out of breath, then I begin to power walk. And then I'll catch my breath and start running again. So there's a lot of that, but I won't stop. I still did good because I was still able to run a little bit over 3 miles in the 45 minutes. So I'm pretty proud about that accomplishment. So the 5Ks are getting much easier because so far in these past 2 weeks, I have had 2 45-minute runs a week. So that's like a 5K twice a week. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, I don't want to bore you with my running, but that's what my life is all about right now, is my running. And but I'm having a good time. I remember when I was participating in these races when I was living in California, I was just walking them, which was great. And I did several 5Ks with the real estate brokerage that I used to work with. We used to do the 5K every year, and I was with that brokerage for 4 years. And I would walk the 5K, and I was just so proud of that too, being able to walk for 3 miles and get to that finish line. It was really exciting. And I honestly never imagined that I would be running those 5Ks. It wasn't my thing. I thought I'll just keep walking them, and I was having a lot of fun. But when I moved out here, when I came back to Utah from California, my kids, my youngest son-in-law and my middle daughter and my middle daughter's husband, they were all running. And by 2021, they were inviting me to participate in the races with them. And then after my 52nd birthday, which I think was 2021, right after my 52nd birthday in 2021, one day I just decided that I was going to start running. And that year I ran the Haunted 5K, which is the same race that I'll be doing this October, except I'm doing the half. That year I ran the 5K, and I trained for that 5K, and I came in third in my age group, which was so exciting. I know I've shared this story in the past. I'm just so happy that I was able to do that, and I was able to do that with my kids. And so I've just been pushing myself a little bit more since then, and I've done several 10Ks, which is 6.2 miles, I think. And then, so I've gone back and forth between the 5Ks and the 10Ks. And I thought, okay, let's try to do a half marathon, which is 13.1 miles. Oh my gosh. Let's try to do that and see how I do this year. I'm planning on doing well. That's why I'm planning on finishing. That's why I'm training. But depending on how I feel after the race, I may participate in the Salt Lake City half marathon next year. We'll see. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Okay. So now that I've added all of the napkins to the paper, I am going to go in and make sure that it is all glued down, and I kind of lift it and hold it up to the light to make sure there aren't any bubbles and any dry areas. So I take more of that little Mod Podge and very carefully spread it over the top to use like a sealer. I'm going to keep layering a few more napkins. And I'm using, I forgot to mention this, that I'm using some regular scrapbooking cardstock. Because I know I'm going to be using these as tuck spots in my junk journals, that is the perfect weight and the perfect thickness to be, so I could use these as tuck spots. However, because I'm also going to use some of these as my business cards, I should have double layered that cardstock, but I didn't. And that all that does is it makes it much more firm and much sturdier. Do you know what I mean? Where it would just hold up better in your memorydex or your rolodex holder. It will be just fine if you don't double up that cardstock. But in hindsight, when I create more of these in the future, I will double up the cardstock. Just glue two sheets of cardstock together, just to add more sturdiness, more strength to that paper. So I'm holding it up. I'm holding it at different angles against the light, just to make sure that I have covered the entire surface. And now we are going to create another collage, but for this one, I am going to use the glue stick. And the glue stick turns out so nice. So if you don't have Mod Podge, you don't have white glue, you can actually water down white glue like Elmer's glue or even Aleene's tacky glue. You can water it down a little bit and use it like a sealer or like a decoupage medium like the Mod Podge. But if you don't have that, it's okay. Glue stick will work just fine. You want to make sure that the area that you're going to place your napkin on is thoroughly covered with the glue stick. And so you can't see here, but I will lean my head over just to make sure that I have the glue stick or the glue everywhere and smooth it out. And I'll go over it a few times to make sure that the entire paper surface is covered. And I'm just going to randomly place some of this napkin down. I didn't plan this in advance. I'm just kind of eyeballing it and just looking to make sure that it looks good to my eye. And notice how here I'm just going over all of the area with the glue stick, covering up that surface. I don't want there to be any glue gaps. And then very carefully place the napkin over, and then with my hand, I'm just going to smooth it out. Make sure that all the edges, especially the edges, are glued down. And if I missed any edges, I will, go back with my glue stick and add more glue to those edges, or I'll just add glue over the top. This is a glue stick from Target that my youngest daughter bought me a while back. I wanted to make sure before I tell you to go ahead and use glue stick that the glue stick, especially this one, when it dries, it doesn't dry sticky. It completely dries. So you want to make sure that the glue stick that you are going to use will not stay tacky once it's dry. And if you don't know, you should do like a test strip. Place some of that glue, whatever glue stick you have, on a random piece of paper and let it completely dry. When you go back and touch it, if it's not tacky, then you can use it over your napkin without worrying about it being tacky. Does that make sense? And so smoothing everything out, and you'll see in just a moment how I will take the glue stick and I will go over the very top of it to make sure that all of the edges are sealed down. I save all of the little pieces that I've cut out to fill in some of the blanks. No tissue is going to waste. And I really like that I'm using the colored cardstock, because like I mentioned earlier, it does add a lot more interest to your page. Play around with your colored cardstock. I have had these sheets of colored cardstock for many years. many, many years. Let's see. I moved to I moved back to California in 2010, and I took my supplies with me. And a lot of this colored cardstock I already had here when I was living in Utah. That was 15 years ago. And I have been collecting colored cardstock since the late 90s. So some of this cardstock may be, okay, over 20 years old. Oh my gosh. So I used to be, back in the late 90s, I was a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And then I was, and I did it more for me. I had just been introduced to Stampin' Up! And, you know, I had just moved out here. I had a friend who was a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and they were a local company, and she introduced me, and I just fell in love. I had already loved, you know, I was just learning about scrapbooking, and then to be able to add, you know, rubber stamping and colored cardstock and all of that to my pages, just kind of drew me in to the company. So I did that for a while, and then I'd leave it, and then I'd go back. But I was always a customer, and so I started collecting colored cardstock. So I have every color in the rainbow. And so some of this cardstock is really, really old. And then I've had friends that worked for Close to My Heart. And then I started, you know, they were also a local company. So sad that they're gone. I had a lot of friends that worked for Close to My Heart, and not as demonstrators. They actually worked for the facility that was here. I think it was in Pleasant Grove, Utah is where they were. So sad that they're now, you know, gone. But I also collected a lot of Close to My Heart cardstock. So I have a combination of Stampin' Up! Cardstock, Close to My Heart cardstock, and then of course I would go to the warehouse, American Crafts warehouse sales. That was also here in Linden. And my sister just told me that the American Crafts store just sold. I haven't researched it myself, but she did tell me that they have sold. And so they used to have an outlet store or a retail store here in Linden. Well, it's no longer there. She went a couple weeks ago, and she says they were closed. And she had heard that they had sold. So we'll see. Don't know what's going to happen with that. But American Crafts sold a lot of products by We Are Memory Keepers or We Are Makers. And they also carried a lot of the Heidi Swapp, Amy Tangerine, Maggie Holmes line. And I think Frank Garcia as well. I think so. And so it was really nice to be able to go to their store. Sometimes they would have these amazing sales. And I would pick up a lot of cardstock there as well. So I'm just giving you a little backstory of how long I've had these colored cardstock. So that's why I chose to use the colored cardstock, because I have a lot of it. And I don't scrapbook as much as I used to anymore. So I'm going to continue to layer with my napkins. And at first I thought it was going to be too busy by continuing to layer and collage over the napkins, but it turns out really nice. This is such a fun project to do, especially if you want to create your own design paper. It's a unique piece, and you get to use all of your favorite patterns. You can even stick to just one pattern. If you want a whole sheet of oranges, or a whole sheet of birthday cake, or a whole sheet of the, you know, florals, you could just stick to one pattern. But I just love this collage look, this eclectic and random look. I just love that. And I do love the way that little birdie napkin looks. And I still have a whole bunch of other napkins that I didn't bring out. I have Christmas napkins, Easter napkins, all of the napkins. I have Halloween napkins, Day of the Dead napkins. So I can't wait to work on more of these. It's going to be so much fun. So now I'm going to fill in the blanks. And do you see how I'm going over some of the area with my glue stick? And there's excess glue outside of those little pieces of napkin, but it's okay because it dries completely, or it's completely dry at the very end with no tack at all. I'm angling it and holding up to the light to make sure I didn't miss any spots. And now I will take some of these little random pieces and fill in some of the blanks. And in just a moment, I'm going to take it one step further. I could have left it as it is with just the glue stick, but because I have the diamond paint glue, I'm going to use it as a sealer over this page. And I really, really liked the way it left a completely matte finish. I really like that. And the reason is that glue is meant to be poured over your diamond painting, and it's meant to not take away the luster or the shine of your diamonds, your little gems that you glue down. And it just makes it so that the little diamond painting, all of those little gems stay in place. Where the Mod Podge left a little bit of a sheen, which I don't mind at all. Either or, I love both of them, and I'll continue to use them. So if you ever come across a really good deal, but you're not sure, like I did, I came across a really good deal with that glue, but I wasn't sure how to use it because it's meant to be used specifically for diamond. Always research. Just go online and figure out what it is, and then you'll be able to determine whether or not you can use it in different ways. I thought it would be more like a glossy accents, but it's not glossy at all, which is really cool. I mean, I love glossy accents, but this is just another regular glue that I will continue to use. Oh, I just took a sip of my other coffee. Not my other coffee. My cup of coffee. Okay, so I am just going to pour a little bit of this glue, and it's clear. It's almost invisible. And then very gently with my spatula, I'm just going to go over. This will make sure that everything is completely glued down. It is a very thin layer. It's a lot thinner than Mod Podge. But when it dries completely clear, because it's not just a glue, it's also a sealer. So isn't that nice? So I'm holding it up to the light and just kind of taking a look to see if I missed a few areas, if there's any bubbles, and just spreading it out very, very careful. These spatulas, I actually pick up, it depends on where I am. I have bought some of these silicone spatulas at the Dollar Tree, but I've also picked some up at Hobby Lobby, and usually when they go on sale. So I've probably paid, maybe 20 cents. Because I like to buy things when they're like 75, 80, or 90% off. And they're not very expensive as it is, but if I can get them for, 30 cents or whatever, that's usually when I buy things like that. This work was very satisfying. I love projects like this because they help me slow down. I typically like to work really fast. And so for me, it's important to do this type of project just to kind of slow me down and enjoy the process. I had some music in the background, and I really did just take my time. I was experimenting, but in the end, it turned out absolutely great. So take your time, don't rush through this, and look at how beautiful. It looks crazy, but it looks crazy beautiful. And because I want to use these for this project, for the die cutting, in just a moment, I am going to grab my heat tool, and I'm going to try to speed up the drying process with my heat tool. So I'm going to grab my heat tool and give them all a quick dry. So I'm just showing you just a few seconds of me drying, but I actually did leave them to dry on the side. Plus I had a fan blowing to help with that as well. And now that they are completely dry, I probably waited about 20 minutes for them to dry. And this is the memorydex / rolodex die that I am going to use. Isn't it pretty? This is the one that I have linked in the description area below. And here are the stack of cards that I die cut in that previous video. And this was using Liliana's decoupage paper. Isn't it pretty? And you can see all the different layers of napkin that she used. Absolutely gorgeous. And so now I'm going to do the same with mine. So I'm just positioning the memorydex over, trying to figure out which direction I want to cut my cards. And I believe I get 6 or 7 cards out of each sheet of paper. And these cardstock papers measure 8.5 by 11. I'm using the die as a guide to cut the paper so that they can easily go through my Big Shot. Oh my gosh. So the other day I went to go, was it the same day? I think it was the same day that I was recording this video. So I keep my Big Shot on the floor. And when I went to go grab the Big Shot, the whole handle came off, you guys. I should have added more tape, but the whole top half just came off. And so I had the handle in my hand and I thought, oh no, that's it. It's over. But I was able to put it back on. And then I lifted the Big Shot and put it on my table. I was so worried it wasn't going to make it through this video. Now, I ran it through and it didn't cut completely through. And I'll tell you why. Because it's not 100% dry. But because I wanted to get this done and I wanted to show you, I went ahead and ran it through the Big Shot. I want to say it's about 95% dry. And that is the main reason why the die didn't completely cut it through, because there's still a little bit of fresh glue on that. Had I let these sit overnight, then they would cut without any issues at all. But it's no big deal. I'm going to grab my scissors and I'm just going to follow all of those markings, the indentations, and just help it along. Some of the other sheets that have had much more time to dry will cut through the Big Shot super easy. And then sometimes you'll see me run it through the Big Shot like 6 times. I'll go back and forth about 6 times, and that also helps. The other thing that helped is I use a shim to add just a little bit more weight to the Big Shot or to the die to help cut it even more. And you'll see how I do that. I'm trying to have as minimal waste as possible. I want to use as much of the napkin as I can. The other tip that I have is when you place your you're dyeing your paper on your Big Shot, sometimes placing it at an angle will actually help cut through the paper even better. And I'll do that up ahead where I just slightly angle the paper and the dye, and it really does make a difference. It's shifting a little bit because I have there's a magnetic platform underneath, and it's moving that metal dye a little bit. And so here I'm going to run it through, I want to say 4 times. And then in a few other ones, I do run it through, like 6 times. I just want to make sure that it is completely cut. And this one almost made it. So I'm just going to trim along the area that didn't fully cut through. But look at how beautiful that looks, and it all works. It all looks so good. The birthday cake, the florals, the bird, and this peony. I think it's a peony. I love this card. I love that bright fuchsia color. It's so pretty. And notice here how I am placing the paper and the metal die at an angle. And I believe by doing this, it actually helped cut the card all the way through. And I think this is the one that I run 6 times through the Big Shot. So this will be the 4th. And yep, I run it again for a total of 6 times. So do what you got to do. But I knew for sure that one pass through the Big Shot wasn't going to work. It could also be that my Big Shot is falling apart, you guys. But look, it worked. So it takes a little bit of extra time, but it came out perfect. I actually have another die cutting machine in my garage. I have the Tim Holtz Vagabond. And I had completely forgotten about that one. And so when this one no longer works, I will probably bring in the Vagabond. It is an electric one that I bought on super sale many years ago. In fact, they were such a good deal. I bought 2, one for my sister and one for me. But I've rarely used it because I have this one. But it looks like this one may not last much longer. Let me know if this is something that you have done. This is the first time for me collaging with napkins like this, like a full collage, a full masterboard. I know it's not a new technique. It's been around for a while. It's just, there's just so many things to do and it's so little time. So it's hard to get to all of those things, all of those different crafts. But if this is something you have done, I'd like to know what you created. I'm sure tags would be beautiful too. So it may be something I do in the future as well. Cut out some beautiful tags. So just trimming the excess, and you could see how there isn't a lot of waste. Oh my gosh, once they are cut into this memorydex card, it completely changes the look. Because the paper as a whole can look a little bit crazy, a little bit all over the place, maybe a little bit overwhelming, like there's so much going on. But once you cut down to whatever it is you're going to cut down to, it just looks so pretty. I love this tulip card. The tulip tissue paper. That one I've also had for a while. And it was one of my go-tos. I haven't used it in a while. But when I was using, when I was doing the cards and the tags with the decoupage paper and the guest checks, I was using the tulip paper, the tulip tissue a lot. And I don't do it in today's video, but once I start adding these cards to the little golden books, I will embellish them a little bit more. I'll probably add some sentiment stickers and some phrases. I can't wait to be completed with the little golden books. They're gonna turn out so cute. I'm hoping, okay, you guys, fingers crossed, that I have them completed by this weekend, because I will be in California mid-September, and I'm hoping to be done with the little golden books before I fly out to California. I am meeting with, I'm going to have one of my high school friends invited me. Oh, in fact, Yvette is here on YouTube as well. She does great work, and she works with little golden books, and she makes journals, and they're amazing. I'm going to link her video channel down below. So Yvette invited me. She's one of my high school besties, and she's hosting a little reunion down in Huntington Beach, and with a lot of our other friends. And we're going to go watch a cover band, and we're going to catch up and see each other, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So I will be doing that. Plus, I'm going to go over to, I'm going to go see my best friend, and I'm going to go see my best friend's mom, who is having an 84th birthday celebration. I won't be able to make it to her 84th birthday because it kind of clashed with my reunion. But I get to see her anyway. I get to see her the day before. Lots going on in California when I go down there. And I just spent this past weekend with another high school bestie who lives in South Florida. And she was here in Salt Lake for a family business, for family things. And she had a free day, and so on Sunday we got to spend the day together. I hadn't seen her in years, in a little over 20 years, but we've always stayed in contact. So I got to meet her husband, and we got to catch up, and we had so much fun. We went to the Great Salt Lake, and I hadn't been out there since 1997 when Slayer played at the Saltaire at the Great Salt Lake. So it's been a while, but it was really nice. I took pictures of the beautiful sunset. And then after that, we went to have dinner at a Mexican restaurant in Salt Lake, which was really nice. The vibe was great. And then after that, we went back to her hotel, and we hung out in the lobby because the bar was closed. But we were in the lobby, I want to say, until about 1:45 a.m. She had to catch her flight at 5 a.m. That means they had to be at the airport by 3 a.m. And oh my gosh, and we were up till 1:45. And we just kept talking and trying to catch up, and we could have gone all night if she didn't have to leave. And I left, and then I got home about 2:20, and then I had to get up the next morning because I had a run that I had to do. I wasn't going to stop my training, but I had so much fun with her and catching up. And then she invited me to go out to South Florida. So I'm going to plan a trip to go down there sometime next year, maybe in June or July. So that'll be fun. It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time. And she's lived out in Florida for a long time, so I'm not putting it off anymore. So that's going to be so much fun. So yeah, that's what I did, and that's what I will be doing. So pretty exciting. So many things. This year has been full of so many adventures, and I am just so grateful for all the things that I've had the opportunity to do and all the people that I've been able to be with. I'm almost done with the die cutting. And these that I'm die cutting towards the end are a lot drier now. You know, I've allowed them more time to dry, and so they're cutting a little bit easier. But just keep in mind that your big shot is probably not as bad as my big shot. And if you have the time, or if you want the time, let these sit overnight so they can completely dry. because as you can see here, the longer they dry, the easier they cut. Oh my gosh, I love these so much with the tulips, the birthday cake, the florals. It just all works. So if you had any doubts, here you go. They're going to turn out amazing. Let me know if you have any questions whatsoever. And I would just love if you would like this video. If you would subscribe, if you're here for the first time, welcome. I love working with Rolodex and memorydex cards. I like to use them in my junk journals. And I've got more of this content for you. So welcome if you are here for the first time. And I think this is a fun place to be. So if you are not subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. And if you loved this video, please leave me a heart emoji or a comment in the comment section below. And then there's a new thing called hype. If you love this video, if you want to hype it, that would be amazing, because what that will do is it will put my video out there for others to see. It kind of gives it an extra push to a larger audience. My goal this year, you guys, or before the end of the year, is to try to reach 25,000 subscribers. I'm almost there. I'm so close, and I can do it with your help. I offer all of my content is 100% free. I don't have membership. I don't have Patreon. I do this because I absolutely love it, and I enjoy sharing what I do with you. If you can help me grow my channel by sharing it with your family and friends, that is all I ask of you. I appreciate you being here with me as I work with paper, and I love turning trash to treasure and making pretty things. These are going to look so nice once I embellish a little bit more. But even if I leave them as they are, they're going to be fantastic. I want to say that was the last one. I need to be careful when I remove this because I don't want it to fall apart. Oh, so I have to hold the bottom and the handle, or else I'm afraid I'll just drop it on my toes. I have a couple of larger pieces left over, but overall they're just tiny little slivers and scraps. But those larger pieces, I am not going to let those go to waste. I am going to take a punch, and this is an old heart Stampin' Up! Punch. It's too bad Stampin' Up! Doesn't sell punches anymore. And I'm going to do 2 punches. And then that is what I am left with. And here are the beautiful Rolodex cards that I have made. Love how they turned out. Just here's an up-close view of them. Don't they look completely different now that they're all cut? This peony one, oh, I love this one so much. The tulip one, I love them all. So nice. The florals. I am going to do this again and probably use some of my Christmas napkins. Those are going to be so pretty. So subscribe so you don't miss that, because those will be coming up soon. Thank you again for being here with me. I appreciate you so much. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Oh, and share my channel, please. Let me know if you have any questions. I appreciate you being here. You guys have a wonderful week ahead, and I will see you next time. Bye.